Congratulations to you.
John, thanks very much. Can you hear me okay?
I can, absolutely.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Yeah, it was a great win on Saturday night and very timely, as you say. Yeah.
A great ahead of the film opening up at cinemas, so it's a great wee boost for it.
It is, yeah, yeah. It's getting released, I think, across about 80 cinemas across Ireland and the UK on Thursday. So anything like it's a kind of it's a quiet enough film, and any film like that, I suppose, needs all the help and boosts it can get. And but it's been getting a great response so far all over everywhere it's screened. It's been getting a great reaction.
Absolutely, the critics are loving it. Where the Irish Times, Irish Independent, and others, they're loving it, and rightly so. So did you have a big night on Saturday night?
Yeah, we had a late one. But luckily, when we got back to the hotel, the residence bar was closed. So
luckily, yeah. It's never closed for residents, Pat. Never closed. It's just who you know.
No, I mean, unfortunately, this one was.
Oh yeah. Listen, tell us a little bit about the film. As you say, it's a quiet film, but that I think that was the end. That was what the book was like. So therefore, the film, I suppose, reflects that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's John McGahern's final novel. It was published in 2002, and I did a documentary on John McGahern before about 2 years before he passed away for RTE. So over that year that I spent going back and forth to his house in Leitrim and talking to him, and I kind of it was the book that I was most drawn to, and I think it's probably because of the where it's set and very similar to my own upbringing in West Cork and the small farms, and a lot of the characters that were there in the book were very recognisable to me, and I think they're kind of recognisable to everybody really in Ireland, and even we've had screenings abroad as well in Sweden and America, and people come up and say, "Oh my God, that's exactly like my neighbour growing up in the countryside," and you kind of half don't believe them because you think they're so specific to Ireland. But I think all these characters, we're all kind of universal, I mean, they're and sometimes these kind of specific Irish characters, they've got their counterparts everywhere in the world,
But because from the outside you might think, well, people in rural Ireland will really understand this and really get the characters. But what you're saying is that a lot of the characters universal.
Universal, but I think maybe people in the countryside might have lived through it themselves, and they'll really recognise it. And any screenings we've had so far have been kind of people coming up saying, "Oh, that's exactly like my uncle," or "That's exactly like my neighbour." A lot of the old bachelor, characters who kind of lived on their own, but were kind of full of personality and full of complexity as well. They're not all kind of they're not all kind of rural lonely bachelors. They're complex characters, and I think they're interesting characters. And I mean, I think that's the case with kind of Ireland at the time. I think there was a whole range of variety there, and to characters that were living around. And there was the people who went off to England and came back every summer or came back every Christmas. So there's a great kind of mixture of that in the film, and it's very poignant, I suppose, in relation to immigration as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a way, it's driven by sort of the cycles of a year in rural Ireland. And I'm thinking about, one in the hay and market days and lambing season and so on. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we filmed in kind of May, June in up around Clonbur in North Galway on the Galway Mayo border. And we went back again and filmed in the autumn, and we went back and filmed some bigger scenes in the wintertime around Christmas. And we had like the snow on the mountains and that. So it was kind of very fortuitous. And we had a big hay-making scene as well, which is actually, it's difficult enough making hay, as anybody knows, but when you're trying to make it within the film schedule, it's a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
And, you're looking for the 4 or 5 days of good weather, and we didn't really get it, but we saved the hay, but it might be a little bit suspect, I think,
All right. for filming.
It mightn't have dried out completely.
You took artistic license with the hay.
Exactly.
And there's a there's a good Donegal influence in the cast as well, because you've Sean McGinley from Pettigo, and then Layla Roddy, who actually was born here, but I think maybe raised in Belfast.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I mean, Lala Roddy and Sean McGinley play two friends, Patrick and Johnny, and I mean, both of them are just superb actors. And Lawler is electric as Patrick, and Sean McGinley he's just such a superb actor. I mean, I hadn't worked that much with actors before, but working with that kind of caliber, I think Sean McGinley is he's such a superb actor, and he's such intelligence that he brings to the role, and feeling, and he can do stuff with just his voice, even if he's not. His voice is just so kind of he can make it sound very sad or emotional. He get really. He's got such range as well, I think, and his character is kind of heartbreaking in the film, really, but he brings an awful lot of. Again, he said it was based on a lot of kind of neighbours and people he knew, and when he was working in London himself, he worked in the building sites or worked around the building sites and knew all these kind of characters, and I think he's one of Ireland's great actors, I think,
The countryside, a character almost in itself, but it's the characters are really what it's all about, and you were blessed not just with these two actors, but with a great cast. A lot of seasoned professionals, but a lot of younger actors as well, and great, turned out great.
I mean, the Barry Ward is the kind of the main character. He plays Joe Rutledge, and then his wife was Kate. She's played by a German actress who hadn't acted in Ireland before. But Barry Ward as well is a superb actor. He's maybe in his 40s now, but he's very experienced, and he's got a very understated role. But Joe and Kate are the kind of centre of the film, and everything revolves around them. They live in a house, and they're visited by the different characters, Johnny and Patrick, and Joe's uncle, the Shah, who's played by John O'Lohan. And I think they're all very recognisable characters, and there's a great range of actors in across the generations. All right, and I think it's. I think there's weddings, funerals, and there's everything that you'd imagine from it being across the whole year is kind of in the film, I think, and. I think it'll. I think hopefully anyway it'll resonate a lot.
Well, it absolutely should here in Ireland, and as I said earlier, rave reviews in the 5-star reviews, in fact, in the Irish Times and in the Independent. Other critics love it as well, so hopefully audiences will as well. And where to from here now with the film? Do you take it to other countries in Europe or elsewhere in the world?
Yeah, I mean, we're still kind of waiting on. I think it's getting released in Australia and New Zealand and Ireland. In the UK, I think it's about over 70 screens in the UK from this week, and it's hopefully it'll be rolled out in different countries, but we haven't got any confirmation of that yet. I mean, it would be great if Irish people go to see it in the cinema. I think it's a great one. For the generations. I mean, we had a screening in Carrick and Shannon there on Thursday night, and a lot of the older people that would remember the characters actually from the book, that were based on the characters in the book, and they were all kind of they were hugely enthusiastic. I think it's one that you can bring older people who haven't been to the cinema in a while, and bring them back to the cinema, and for younger people, it's a kind of a window into a world that might be, more or less gone, but still, the community, I think, is still very strong in rural Ireland. I think, as we all know, and especially around, the funeral, I think that's where it's at its strongest, really, And I think that the film has echoes of that as well, just that kind of, I suppose the rituals around funerals and all that is still very strong.
Absolutely. Yeah. And having made a documentary about the author and having met the man, then, you understand where he was coming from.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's. I suppose, having grown up there myself, and I remember making a documentary 20 years ago on the whole Irish funeral tradition, and I made one out on Tory Island as well, Elan Hori, for T.G. Carr years ago, and spent back and forth there for 18 months, back and forth, and so I suppose I know that world very well, even though Tory has its own personality. Tory's unlike any place else, really.
Micro personality.
Exactly, yeah. And all the better
Unique.
for it.
Yeah. Well, listen, the film gets a premiere here in Century Cinemas in Letterkenny on Thursday night. It's the Lions Club that are putting on a presentation raising funds for UNICEF, and
Great.
and there'll be some food afterwards in the backstage bar. But tickets available for that, and then it opens generally on Friday.
Yeah.
The best of luck with the film. Congratulations again, Pat, on the award, and nice talking to you. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Sean. Thank you.
Good luck.